Here goes the Chess Man Blues.
Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene. And today we're talking about why play tabletop RPGs. Or
how do RPGs change the player? Which is a little convoluted, I think.
we'll go with why do you play tabletop RPGs?
Well, these might not be, I don't think these are definitely things why people play, but
The
things,
effects of it.
yes, effects of playing RPGs on a consistent basis. I think that's what, doesn't sound too sexy of a title, but there it is.
Okay.
Well, other than fun, right? What are
Which is the number one reason to play tabletop RPGs.
right? And I don't want to talk about it, but somebody said something that's not the only reason people play games, but we won't talk about that. And anyway, so
I don't know what you just said, dude.
that somebody said that people don't play games just for fun, RPGs specifically.
Why do they play them? To torture other
I don't
people?
know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the person was saying that it was a weird direction he was coming from. But anyway, people do play games to have fun, but there's also some effects, or I believe the word is effects, that happens to players when they play games.
Or effects.
Defects. I forget which was which.
It's not defects.
No, but something that happens to players when they play games, role-playing games on a consistent basis. Some of these might fall over into board games, but role-playing games is really where these things excel or really happen.
And the first one that you put down
is making friends.
which goes with my first one,
Really?
enabling social connections.
Well, oh my God, who wrote that article? A sociologist? So for me, obviously, I've made a lot of friends because I play role-playing games. In fact, most of the people I call my friends are because I play role-playing games, which is kind of a weird thing if you look at it. I mean,
I don't think so. A lot of people play sports and
right, and that's where they get their social connections.
Yes.
Like that. I don't think I have, other than people at work, which I'm forced to work with. And like I've said in the past, I don't necessarily have a lot of friends at work because of the work that I do. But when I play games, I meet quite a few people. And a lot of those people who I end up liking become my friends. And basically that's all the friends I have for the most part.
okay.
Well, it's funny because I think we've mentioned in the past, there's a connection between everybody who I know almost, and all the people we call our friends, and this one person called David, who is like the linchpin of everybody we know and associate with on a not on a daily basis, but on a what do you call it, a weekend basis, or what do you call it when.
The people that keep us sane.
There's that, but also people who, when you go out and do things, you go out and do things with these friends. And David, because of some weird thing of fate, has
Well, he went to school with Felipe.
right. And so the other person is Felipe, right? Because Felipe basically has introduced D&D to me, and from that introduction of D&D, I have basically all my friends and David, who he met through D&D in high school. Those two things are all
The
my
people
friends.
that you know.
Other than people I have at work and that I actually like at work.
And that you met at gaming conventions.
Well,
But that was because of Felipe.
because of D&D, right? Because I play role-playing games. So, like, if you look at my Facebook friends list, almost all of them, except for some of my workmates, almost all of them are related to role-playing games.
Or your family.
Oh yeah, those two. though my friends totally outnumber my family, almost, but they're pretty close. But anyway, so obviously it has a big impact on people when they play games, right? Because unless you play sports and play role-playing games or do a lot of stuff, then you basically have friends based on the activities that you do.
Right.
So in this case, that's where you make friends, is by playing games. And my personal experience is that everybody I know I play games with, and because I go to conventions and I meet people at conventions, they become my friends, and that's how I know the rest of some extended friends, other than the ones I know because
Of David and
of
Felipe.
David. Yeah, Felipe.
I think that's what they mean by social connections. It gives you connections
Yes.
with people.
And it's kind of weird. I mean, I think about it. I'm like,
Well, it's
Yeah.
like people that do bowling leagues, or
yeah, I guess you're right.
or your kids play soccer, so you meet those people and you like them and you start hanging out with them because
Yeah.
you're there every weekend.
Right. Yes. Or, well, that didn't quite happen with band.
That's because he didn't do marching band.
That's true. I guess that would be a little different. You're right. But we're talking about
Our
our
son.
son. Yes. Augustine. He does play role-playing games, though.
Yes, he does.
I think, it's a good way of making friends. And I think if you get enough like-minded people, if you are a role player and go and play games at a hobby shop or a game store or go to conventions.
Or the organized play. That's usually
Organized play.
where it comes from,
Yeah.
is game stores. But that is an excellent way to make social connections, right? Because you can be in a place totally by yourself, and you can go to a game store, and if they have a Adventures League or Pathfinder Society
Right.
or whatever, or some guy's running a game on Tuesday nights, you can go and meet people, right?
Yeah, I think that in itself, we might even make a topic about organized play, is that other companies have tried it and have been more or less successful. But really, D&D, Adventures League, and Pathfinder Society, they really, I don't know what it is about that particular those rule sets, but they have a large following. In fact, I know when I used to play with Augustine, and Augustine was pretty young when we tried
Yeah.
Pathfinder Society, I still recognize people that were in that group that we played at that hobby store.
That's because they made social connections.
Yeah, and I still see them playing Pathfinder Society. It's kind of
So can we move on to the next?
yes. Let's move on to the next one. I put down camaraderie, which I think kind of falls within the same realm of being friends, but there's a little bit of difference. There's friends, and you can hang out and talk about stuff. So, how about those 49ers? They're doing great, right? Even though they lost 2 quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. With the ankle injuries, I think something happened there.
Anyway.
Must be some weird universe.
Anyway.
So I think when you see these people, when you see these people and are around the table playing, at the same time you become friends. And so then it's a little different. Like, you invite them out to events that have nothing to do with role-playing games, barbecues, birthday parties, maybe going to the movies, that type of stuff. So, and then when you get together, it's like, to play a role-playing game, it's like, hey, it's like I hate to say a party, but
It's like Cheers,
yeah, it's that place,
where everybody knows your name,
everybody knows your name, and you don't want to go,
or at least your character's name.
at the very least. I think it's really neat. I think that's one of the big reasons why role-playing games are so popular, is because of that camaraderie, social gathering, and like you said, where everybody knows your name.
The articles I read would call that good for your mental health.
Are you reading Psychology Today?
I don't know. They were some gamers writing articles.
Wow. Okay, so I guess the next one is working out problems, not mental problems or personal problems, but critical thinking, like word problems, stuff like that. So when I play games or run games, sometimes there's other things other than combat, right, that I want to throw at the players.
Well, yeah, it's called either a mystery, a murder to solve, or you have to find something, or there's a quest to go upon.
Yeah, you got to figure something out.
In the psychological terms, they call it boosting your self efficacy.
Efficacy?
Efficacy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't say the word.
Well, it is the new year, and it's 7:00 in the morning.
Well, basically, you're conquering new challenges, and that makes you more confident.
Oh, wow. Yes. Say that again? No,
You're conquering new challenges, and that makes you more self-confident.
Well, I mean, I think that's true. I think when you as a person are able to figure things out, I mean, it's like working out. It's been a while. Quadratic equations when I was in college or high school, you are like, what the heck does this all mean, right? But then when you successfully figure it out, you are kind of proud of that, right? And it does make you feel good that you figured out, unless you cheated. But then that goes against the whole
That's
thing.
a different topic.
Yes, but I think you're right. I think when people are able to figure things out, and what is like the whole positive reinforcement. I hate to get all weird. Psychological. With
I think that in a game I can picture you standing at how are we going to get over that wall, or how are we going to get across that bridge, or how are we going to get into that building?
Yeah,
and everybody has to come up with an idea and think about it.
Yes,
and once you accomplish it, whatever you did, whether you just walked up to the gate and paid the gatekeeper to let you in, or you climbed over the wall and everybody managed to do it without raising alarms.
Yeah.
Everybody has that good feeling at the end of it. We did it as a group, right?
Right.
So it's a group thing and an individual thing.
Or even an individual thing.
That you actually did it.
Yeah.
You roll that dice and you didn't roll a 1. You made your roll, or you just made it over that hill, right?
I was just thinking this. I was just thinking that maybe, like, even if you do it by yourself, like the whole group is not involved, and even if one person or two people in the group are doing something, and everybody's like,
it's a win for everybody,
right? And everybody's on the edge of the seat whether they'll make it, unless it's super easy, which is
you think crossing a bridge is easy,
right.
But it's not.
No, but if they're doing something that is taxing, that is really tough, and
climbing that wall,
and they come up with a good plan to make it easier for the role to be successful, whether it's like coming up with something they could do to mitigate the severeness of the obstacle, whether it's like having the right tool, or doing something like, I'm going to stand on his shoulders so he can get a little bit of an advantage of get a little higher up where maybe the wall's rougher, or whatever it is. I think when people succeed in that sense, and everybody in the table goes, yeah. So that is right. And that makes those two people, one person, or the whole group,
everybody,
much happier. And there is that sense of accomplishment. Yeah. Pretty cool. And I think that's pretty cool. And I think that it does happen quite a bit in role-playing games. And I've seen it happen at games when I run at the convention where total strangers are doing something or working together, and then either one or two people are successful, and the whole group just like, they actually sometimes like they
get excited.
They pat each other on the back and stuff. Or
and whether you're saving a princess, or you are getting to a gold chest, or you're solving why this happened,
right?
Or you just find whatever it is you're supposed to find.
Yeah.
Everybody, that's an accomplishment, right?
Right. And it does make you you can feel the energy of the whole table. And it's beyond fun, right? It goes beyond just having a fun time. It's like, man, I feel good about what.
It's like when the GM says, "Okay, roll initiative," and everybody, you the excitement around the table is because it's going to determine what order you get to play in, and different things like that, right? Everybody goes, and this is from a purely D&D perspective, right? Or even Shadowrun's perspective.
Shadowrun less.
But the boys get so excited about just the rolling initiative part. And it's like, it's not an accomplishment other than you rolled your dice, and then you get to commiserate with each other because you rolled a 3, and everybody else, depending on the rolls. But it's a group activity, right?
Definitely. So I always think about that moment when they, in one of my games, when they figured out who was causing all the ruckus in my Monterey Dresden game. And it was just like they were on the verge of like falling apart, right? Because they're literally to the hair pulling stage, and I was like, man, this sucks. But then one of them said something, and then instantly that they figured out, right? It's Jenkins.
The
right?
light bulb went off in their
Yes,
head.
it's Mr. Jenkins. And then everyone goes, oh, yeah, that's who it was. And then, like, they were extremely happy that they figured it out. And I was like, and I was extremely happy that they figured it out because I was like, man, am I doing something wrong? Am I not throwing enough clues out there? So everybody, even me, I was like, yeah, I was like really happy. But they were like ecstatic. I mean, they just yelled. I mean, the whole table just erupted in like cheers and stuff. And then they were like, now we know what our target is. We're gonna go after them. So I think that's amazing.
Well, and in that working together thing,
Yeah.
not to talk like a HR person or anything, but it helps you to
That was
develop your personal skills, right? You're working with
Your
these other
interpersonal
people.
skills.
You're as a group, you're accomplishing something, right? So it gives you, but it helps each person to be able to share their ideas.
Yes.
To be able to do something, right? And that's a total thing that they try to get people to do.
Right. No, and there's a reason why. Because people who are happier working together and feel like they're actually doing something, they work better and they do better work, right? I hate to say it. I hate to sound like a
An HR person?
HR person or team leader manager. After that, I had socialization, which we kind of we talked about that. Socialization, by playing with strangers, we learn to make friends. And I think D&D really pulled me out of my shyness when I was young. I've always been shy.
That's a bunch of crap. He's never been shy in his life.
Well, maybe not shy, but I mean, there's a lot of people who are introverted and introverts. Yeah, or shy is the old term, and I think it does help. I see it with different people that I know who seem a little bit shy, and when they get to the table, that kind of just slowly goes away. Right? They become, once they not stop being themselves, but start role playing a character, their demeanor changes, and they are able to work well with the group and be able to talk and have a.
I would call that getting out of their heads, right?
Getting out of their heads?
Yeah, because a lot of people, especially people who are anxious or don't want to talk to someone because they might reject them or whatever, they're in their heads, right? They're like overthinking it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And then once they sit down and they're with a group of people they feel comfortable with, or even if it's a new group, it might take them a few sessions to feel comfortable.
Right.
But they can get out of their head and
Yes.
enjoy the moment of playing with people.
Right.
Not only that kind of socialization, but sitting down with a group of people that you know or don't know, and you start playing role playing games, you get to see all the different kinds of personalities that people have, right?
You definitely get to know them.
So that gives you social skills. You're developing things to work with people and try to figure out why that person does that kind of thing.
Right. And I think that's important. I think that's that's a life skill that everybody can use, right? And not only in successfully completing the game session, but, navigating the world sometimes. And I think we all use those kind of lessons, especially growing up. I mean, this stuff really impacts younger people like my son. I mean, I know he tends to be, I don't know what I would call him, but I think
I have no idea what you're going to say.
I have no idea what I was going to say either. But, he tends to be like, I know what I'm doing, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And so when he plays role-playing games and he realizes that there's people who might be smarter than him.
Or they have another idea that he goes, oh, well, that might work
Yeah.
too.
that sounds like a better idea. I think that causes...
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it causes him to be, for people who are overconfident, like my son sometimes, it kind of like not drops you down a notch and whatever, but it makes you realize that maybe you don't have all the answers, right? Or you don't have, all the answers. And so when it's kind of humbling in a certain sense. And I think that helps people, that's the kind of stuff you can learn and at a role-playing game, and it affect you in the world. And that's some good lessons.
Because it's a safe space in a role-playing game.
Oh,
and
I
I have the quotes out, sorry. That
she has the quotes as fingers.
For kids and playing with lots of kids, you learn that it helps them to develop those, knowing that they can try something in a role-playing game and then they don't actually do it in the real world because it didn't turn out the way they thought it would, or they do it because, oh, I could do that. I could talk somebody into that or whatever.
Right. So we're all over the place, but I have team building. I hate that term because they use it at work sometimes. And I think it's just phraseology or what are you call fake words. I don't know. But I think
the words are real.
I hate to sound like an HR person, but you learn how to work well together, right? I think when you are in a group and you're trying to solve problems and it does work in combat, right? You got to work together as a team in combat. But out of combat too, you have to work as a team to accomplish a goal. Especially in a lot of role-playing games, you're trying not to get into combat, right?
Right.
So that is, getting into combat is going to be a problem where
you're going to die.
Well, or you're going to lose some people on your team and they're not going to be happy about it. So I think learning to work well together is a valuable lesson.
And learning to listen to other people tell you not to go charging forward.
There's that. I mean, there's that is totally true.
Now, this next one that I have written down, because somebody wrote it and I thought it was a very interesting idea, and I'm not totally convinced on it, but it says, one of the benefits, it's as good to play role-playing games as it is to have a religion or to do religious stuff, because it gives you resilience. It helps you with stress-related growth and feelings of awe and positive emotions. Now, I don't know if a role-playing game can do that, but I thought it was an interesting concept.
I don't know about some of what you said, but I think you can feel awe in a role-playing games. You can feel like, wow, that was either cool or that was an amazing experience. And I think that can happen in a role-playing session.
I think you can also get awe that the GM came up with that or gave you a good story to go with it.
Right. And I think that's interesting too. I mean, I'm not sure how role-playing games will not replace religion, but act as a religion.
Replace. No, not even that. That's not what it says.
What does it say? Say it again?
It says it gives you the benefits, the same benefits.
Oh, the same
basically
benefit.
the same benefits of going to church.
Well.
Or whatever.
And I understand that. But I haven't gone to church in ages, so I don't know the benefits of going to church. I mean, okay, honestly, I haven't gone to church since never, really. I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned on...
Since you passed out all the time?
Yeah, so I had some condition where I would pass out. It was a heart valve when I was a little kid, and if I got really, really excited, I would pass out. Now, this was before I could even recollect passing out. I have no recollection of passing out ever. So this is when I was really young. I don't know how old I was. I was probably 2 or 3.
It was his brothers and sisters' ticket to stop going to church.
So my parents were religious in a certain sense. I mean, they were Catholic, and they would go to Sunday church every Sunday. And there was a lot of us, right? By the time I came around, there was 9 of us. So when I was a little kid, everybody was still in the house, I'm pretty sure, except for Charlie. So there was 8 of us, 8 children, plus the mom and dad. They would go to church. A certain part of the orations or whatever, it was in Latin. My brothers and sisters were bored out of their heads, right? Because we don't know what the guy's saying. And as did probably 99% of the parishioners, which I thought was kind of weird, was the point. But anyway... At a certain point, I was passing out when I get really excited. They took me to a heart specialist, and they said, well, he's not going to have a problem. It's going to grow, blah, blah, blah. And then the doctor kind of offhandedly said, well, you should probably make sure he doesn't get too overly excited. And so this was translated, my sister was translating for my mom, who didn't know English very well. And so my mom asked, well, what do you mean don't get him too excited? And he goes, no, don't take him to big crowds and blah, blah, blah. And then she said, according to my sister now the story might have changed since then, but according to my sister, the doctor said, my mom asked, well, what about church? And so she translated to the doctor, and the doctor go, well, maybe it might not be such a good idea. So then she told my sister told my mom, and that was the last time we went to church as a family. Now, we go to church Ash Wednesday growing up, and sometimes we'd go like special days and stuff like that. But for the most part, the whole family just stopped going to church, which most of them were pretty happy about. I don't think that none of my siblings are very religious in a certain sense. Some of them have sort of still attend church every Sunday and stuff like that, but that's a very small percentage. 2 out of 8 are probably churchgoers, and that's not a high percentage. So they were all happy that I had this problem. Had this problem. No, I think they were all happy. Because it was a big deal. And then my parents had made them.
You've gone way off of the topic, but in your conversation there, I think one of the things about awe is when you're a little kid and you go to a church and you see all the stained glasses.
Oh, that's and
the statues, and it gives you a sense of awe.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And one of the things that I thought about was all of the different gods in D&D.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of different things, and it allows, it gives you that kind of feeling.
Yeah,
that there's something more powerful than yourself.
Yeah, it depends on the game that you're playing, obviously. And some games less. Religion isn't such a big deal.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be religion, but it's a religion-like thing. Like
that's true.
If you're playing Call of Cthulhu, there's something big, evil out there that is causing great chaos in the world and going to destroy you.
Gotcha. Yes. Sorry for the weird digression, but you're right. I think you can get that kind of experience from role-playing games, that sense of awe and the sense of like, man,
you may not pass out like Saul did, but
not in real life anyway. Your character might. That's how. You said something about mental health and a safe space. I think we did talk about that, touched upon it a couple of times. But when you are in a game, whether you're with friends or strangers, for the most part, you are all in a group and you feel safe talking or dealing with the subject that is at hand, whatever that is, whatever that session is about. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes people don't feel safe, right? People feel you can get into situations that people.
It doesn't even have to be anything big. I was laughing to myself because I remember, I don't know what we were playing, but Morgan was describing something, and I think we might have been on Zoom because it was during the pandemic.
Okay.
And Bay and I are going into the cameras going, X card, because he was telling, it was kind of gory, whatever he was describing. And like, no, stop.
And he kept going?
No, he stopped.
He stopped.
But it was.
I thought you guys. I remember you guys doing that, and I think he didn't see you guys right away. He just kept going, and then I think
I'm making the gesture of my arms and an X.
And an X.
Just so
it was funny because I think somebody said, I forget who it was. It might have been me or
it was Bay. I think it was.
And said, hey, I think you got to look at these people over here.
It might have been.
Look at the camera.
It might have been you or Shannon. Yes.
And so he goes, oh. Okay.
It was just a description,
right?
Like of a bloody, gory scene, and we're like, no. So
that was funny.
So that. And it wasn't so much that we were uncomfortable, just that we didn't want him to keep going with the description.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has different things that bother them, right? And we've talked about this as far as.
But you can face your fears that way too, right?
Certain times, yes. I think when you're playing with strangers, this comes up more often, but it can come up when you're playing with friends and that you've known for a long time. And either way, I think for the most part, when I go into a game or a session, no matter if it's a game session at a convention or here in my house, I think for the most part, I feel safe that nobody's going to go off the deep end, or not off the deep end, but go to extremes, right? It does happen in certain places, in certain games, and that's really unfortunate. One of the unfortunate things about role-playing games is that there's certain people who just want to shock other people for whatever reason, and that's just part of their personality. But for the most part, I think they're a huge minority compared to most people who play role-playing games.
The mental health safe space comment that I gave you had to do with being able to role play things that you wouldn't normally do in real life,
right?
Like for kids, like, you know, you're talking to somebody the way you wouldn't usually talk to them,
Right, of course.
or you're fighting and different kinds of things, or
Right.
you get to run in and be the hero, that kind of stuff.
Or you can
Scary.
Oh, I see. You can and then you can, as a character, you can attempt to do things that you would never be able to attempt as a person. And
I'm just saying that's what the comment was about. It wasn't about the X card.
Oh, okay. Well, you were doing the X card thing, so.
Well, because you said it and you made me laugh because I remembered.
I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I think for the most, you could do things that you couldn't do in real life, and or something you could do in real life, but there's a great risk to bodily injury.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna jump that canyon in my motorcycle. Okay, roll.
Or I'm going to take my staff and fly over that wall, use it as a catapult.
Use it as a...
Or in Feng Shui, when I can run up a wall as a thief.
Or dodge bullets.
Yeah.
Or slice bullets with your sword.
Yeah.
Slap them aside.
It provides a framework for playing things. You can do, like, meaningful things, or you can do fun things, but it gives people a place to play stuff that, you know, the role-playing...
Yeah.
that you don't normally do, right? So it gives you this it opens up all kinds of worlds to people.
Yes. And I think role-playing games, because it's fun and it mixes that stuff with all these other things we talked about, I think people can really benefit from playing role-playing games. I mean, I've been playing role-playing games for a long time. I think I have learned quite a bit of stuff about other people, about how other people act, and about how to deal with situations. And that's stuff that can help you, and not only in the game, but in real life. So I think it's pretty neat.
And then I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Does playing heroes and figuring out stuff change the way that you relate to the world in real life? Does it give you a different perspective?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think when you role play, I mean, people, we even do that at work, and I work for a freaking grocery company, right? And we do these role playing exercises of how do you greet a customer and all this other crap. And I'm like, okay, I understand what they're saying, but they wouldn't try this unless they thought it really would work.
Yes.
Even these role playing, what do you call them, exercises at work. I know they use them in different settings too, not just.
Well, at your work, it's because they want you to greet the customer with a smile and be enthusiastic.
Right, which just kind of makes me laugh. But it does work, right? Because they wouldn't waste their time. I think in some metric somewhere, they measured it, crunched some freaking numbers, and they go, we're going to spend company time, paying these people to do this. So they obviously think it works. So obviously, somewhere in the world, some bean counter, some well, not a bean counter, but some psychologist or psychotherapist, I don't know what, colluded with corporate America and make you do these exercises that they believe work. And obviously, if they didn't think it would work, they wouldn't.
But the question is, as a role player, when you come up to this situation with the HR person telling you, okay, this is what I want you to do, are you the person that stands up? And I know you're not. Are you the person that stands up and goes, okay, I'm enthusiastic about this, I'll do it with you, and then you run through the exercise with them and show everybody else how to do it because you've been playing role-playing games for all your life and you're good at this kind of stuff? Or are you the guy that just sits back, and I know you are, and go and put your feet up on the desk and let other people do it?
It depends. I mean, I think I can play a pretty unruly customer, since I've been doing this gig for a while, and I excel at being the jerk customer. So every once in a while, when they go, "Oh, who wants to be the customer or the irate customer or the customer with a problem?" and
so I get to play NPC.
I can play. I get to do that, and sometimes it's like they're like, I do not know. I might go overboard, but anyway. But it is kind of fun, and I do it sometimes. And you're right. I would say 90% of the time, I let somebody else do this, right?
Because it's not worth my time. But as a role player, you could do it. Without, you feel more comfortable doing it because you do it as a hobby.
In fact, I just did it the last time we had to go to a meeting at whatever. and they broke us up into two groups. I mean, into two people groups, right? And the person and I was like, "What the hell? I'll do it." Right, because other people are just kind of looking at you, going, "What do we do?" And so I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this." And I start role playing, and the person goes, "Wow, you really get into this." I'm like, "Not really, but I think it's
faster if I do it now, so we can get that."
And then we switched role, and then I basically taught this other worker how to role play. They're like, "Oh, I see what you're doing." I go, "Yeah, just like an actor, like we're playing a part." And so we switched roles, right? I think it was the same thing. It was a good customer, bad customer, good employee, bad employee. How would a bad employee handle the situation? Blah, blah, blah. At the end of the 5-minute thing, the person was cracking up, right?
Right.
It was really funny. And everybody else, all the other 2-person groups were like looking at us going, "What is going on over there?" Which I thought was kind of funny.
Well, see, my experiences at work, I'm more of a shy, introverted person. Mostly I just don't want to deal with people, and I'll do most anything not to have to do it at work. In real life, I might not be the same way. But having been a role player, and you can think to yourself, "Oh, I am going to play the salesman today," or "I am going to put on this happy face and do this." So and that way you don't have to. It helps you to get through your day, right?
Right.
It makes it easier because you can go, "Oh, what would I do? Okay, this is what this happy person, worker would do this. So that's what I'm going to do right now."
Yeah.
And everybody has those days where they're like, "I don't want to be here." And sometimes you got to just suck it up, buttercup, and do it, right?
Suck it up, buttercup. Wow. Yes. And I think you're right. And I think when you have the ability to play role-playing games and use those talents outside of the game and in real life, I think it can be like that, right? You can switch a role and say, "Oh, it's just going to go better if I play this role better," right? And you do it.
Yeah.
Just like me. When I'm at work, I mean, for the most part, I'm a nice guy. I greet customers and stuff like that, and I see somebody looking up at the aisles going, have that look like I'm lost. I'm like, "Oh, can I help you find something?" And because I know the layout is still like the back of my hand, I go, "Oh yeah, it's on this aisle, blah, blah, blah. It's on this shelf in the middle on the right-hand side." And I'm like, and then they come back to me and go, "It was right where you said it was." I go, "Well, yeah." But I guess, I've been to Lowe's or some big old huge box store where somebody says, "Oh yeah, it's on aisle 16," and you go to aisle 16 and you're looking for plumbing equipment, and you are
literally in plumbing equipment, but you don't know what it is.
You're in the garden section and going, "This is not exactly where I want to be," because they don't give a crap and they just want you to get out of their face.
Well, the other thing I think that it helps with is like, if you're in whatever kind of situations you are in public or at work, you can always go, "Oh, I get to go play a game this weekend," and it makes you happy, right?
Yes.
So it makes your serotonin go, so you're happy, and it makes you feel better for the day, right? Because you know that maybe it's gonna be a long week because you have to close the end of the month, and it's 8.5, 9-hour days every day, but on Saturday, I get to play Shadowrun with my kid.
Right. So there you go. I think
there you are.
We killed this subject.
It's dead with a sword sticking in it,
or a laser sword.
A lightsaber.
Well, in space opera, it was laser sword because I think lightsaber might have been.
It was a copyrighted thing.
Might have been. I don't know. But usually words are copyrighted.
So there you go. If you have any ideas how role-playing has helped you, think about it.
Yeah. Even write us. Drop us a note somewhere.
I laugh because I'm not sure Saul will find it. The note, I mean.
Well, I'm on Facebook, and we do have a Gaming Perspectives Facebook page, and we do have on podcasts you can leave comments on the episodes and stuff.
And you can delete all this, yes.
I could.
Okay.
I won't. All right. Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
You have a good day.
And a Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.
Here goes the Chess Man Blues.